like getting the feeling of coming in the gym. I'm getting the feeling of coming at home. I'm getting the feeling of coming backstage when I pump up, when I pose out in front of 5,000 people. I get the same feeling. So I'm coming day and night. I mean, it's terrific, right?
Hey, how's it going, universe? Welcome to another episode of Zoobox Goes to the Library. It's me, your host, Sean, and I'm here joined again by Mr. Big Paul. What's going on, Big Paul?
Yo.
What's going on, buddy? Oh, my God. And do we have a novel to talk about today? Well, I guess it's close to a novel. You know, it's a little bit, it's more of a novella, I would say.
Ooh, so fancy.
Novella. I don't want it. And that's not a diss, guys. That's not a diss. That's just because of the length of the book. As you know, some people may hear me say novella, like, "Oh, what are you trying to say? What are you trying to say about this guy that he's lazy?" I said, "No, it was a creative choice that he made." And yeah, so today we're going to be talking about Bulk, which is the first novella by author Simon Fay, also known as Content Lit over on YouTube, which is how we found out about him.
Yeah, absolutely.
He does a lot of great, like, kind of movie video essays, a lot of stuff about Stanley Kubrick, which is how Big Paul actually stumbled onto him, and he introduced him to me. And apparently he slides into his DMs all the time, trying to butter him up like some kind of psycho. I don't want to, I'm not telling tales out of school or anything.
Guilty.
He's like, "Hey guy, I made you this fan art." The artwork that you're seeing behind us is he sent it to him, and he says, "Hey, let's do anything for you. Okay. Can I call you Todd?" Spoiler alert. Anyways, so yeah, we're gonna be talking about
pack
this
it in,
book.
Sean. Pack it in.
We're gonna be talking about this book. What we're gonna do first is we're gonna give our general opinions about it. I give a general review, not getting into any too specific of spoilers, and then we're gonna kind of do a more thorough spoilerific review, kind of walk through the story, talk about the themes, the characters, and what we thought about it on a deeper level, an even deeper level than just the non-spoiler section, which will also be riveting. Yep. You're in for a treat tonight.
So if you read the book, it's going to be fun to riff along with us and get into the mind of Barbs and the other main characters. And if you haven't read it, there'll be a very annoying alert letting you know that we're getting into some spoiler shit.
Yes, spoiler signs will be up, and that's when you know to get ready to come. Let me tell you what. The plot synopsis here over on Amazon.com. The most shocking thing about Barbara Dunn isn't how big she's gotten through the sport of bodybuilding. No, it's how big she's made her husband in 20 years of grossly overfeeding him. Desperate to have a child, Barbara intends to take drastic measures to maintain this odd coupling. In the dwindling estates of Santry, Dublin, she must banish her husband's drinking buddy, an aging skirt chaser with more gut than charm, battle the Botox stiffened blonde trying to steal his heart, and worst of all, Barbara Dunn will have to destroy her husband's newfound desire to go on a diet. A demented downward spiral of tragic black humor, Bulk by Simon Fay, is the story you won't soon forget. So this is, like I said, this is his first novel, first published work. I think it's I believe it is self-published, if I'm not mistaken. Again, not a diss. But seriously, guy, self-published? Come on now.
Yeah.
Come on now.
A couple things. Like you said, we found about him over at Content Lit and into his Kubrick stuff, what got me on there. And then going through like his book selection, I'm like, oh man, he's written some books. So let me see him. Yeah, he has several books to pick from. Yep. One of them being a sci-fi and one of them a detective one, which actually I already bought that on Amazon last night, actually. So that's coming its way. Get onto that after American Psycho. But anyways, another fun fact too, that it's published in Middletown, Delaware, which is, about like an hour south of me. So
actually, Paul just went down to the press.
Went down to the press. Like, give it to me while it's hot. Give it to me while it's hot.
I need a fresh copy of Bulk. I need a fresh copy of Bulk.
And then it wasn't signed by Simon Fay, and I said, send it back. And they're like, he lives in Ireland or some shit. And I'm like, well, what the fuck? Well,
what good does that do me?
Yeah, but the one of the things why I picked this one specifically, and I shot you that message, like, hey, you want to read this with me, is because at the time when I looked at it, we just did a nightcap on feeders.
God, Paul. Oh my fucking God. Dude, look at this shit. Okay. A funnel, is being inserted into his throat. That's right.
We just did all that. So I read the I read the description, or that I was just like, no kidding. What are the odds of that? What are the odds of that? We just
It's
did a whole
yeah.
nightcap on this, and then like let's get into it. And for like the decent people that follow us solely for movie and book review content, yeah, go Google it. We won't spoil you here. No, it's
Yeah,
it's people that just like
look up feederism. Feederism. That's the word you're looking for. And so what you would call that's that's called serendipity. Oh, what a rare occasion in life do you get to use that word. It's a little bit of serendipity there. We were hot off of a nightcap full of feederism. Then in the description, she says she tries to keep this guy fat all the time.
I was like,
oh my goodness, a match made in heaven, you might say.
It was. And plus, I just need a break from sci-fi. I'm like, all right, let's grab into this, man. Let's check this out, man. So,
and it was also dovetailed on us coming off of a Chuck Palahniuk book, which
so the Invention of Sound.
The Invention of Sound, which is also available now on our YouTube page. Go check it out. Yeah. This was, and when you read the synopsis of this,
and also sick fan art there too. Just say
you did lots of it. Go check us out on Instagram for more. But when you read the synopsis of it, it actually reminded me a lot of like a Chuck Palahniuk style story. Like that's what it reminded me of. And so I guess, and I was in the mood for that. I was in the mood for more of that kind of writing, that kind of storytelling, maybe even that kind of prose. And I was curious what it would be like. And it's, it's a rare thing in life where you stumble across like kind of a nascent writer like this, and you have an opportunity to read their first work. And we came to him from appreciating other things he had done. Like we appreciated him as a video essayist. And it was just kind of a nice surprise that we found out he was a writer, and we liked his videos so much. We wanted to give this a whirl and give it some coverage as well. I'm sure this will be, doing some solid Zoobox numbers.
Yep.
But there's not, because there isn't really much about this book out there. Even if you go to Goodreads and Amazon, he's a self-published author. He's an independent guy, just kind of grinding through it. I'm not sure what he's doing now. I don't think he's written anything in a while, though.
Okay.
I think the last thing he wrote might have been in 2016. I think he put out like 2 more books in 2016, which would have been a year after this. This came out in 2015.
Yep.
But I also bought them. I actually bought both of them. Both
nice, man.
One sci-fi book, one, like you said, detective book. $2.99 on Kindle.
Nice, buddy.
Couldn't pass it.
No, so you got Icon Violet, I think it is.
Icon Violet and People in Season.
Nice. Well, that's the one I'm waiting on the mail. So I'm waiting for that one to get here too. So cool, man. All right. I've been dying, man, because I think it's been about like at this time, like about 2 weeks since we both finished it. So, enough time to chew on it like a little bit, or whatnot. I've been dying to ask you, what'd you think about it?
I did actually liked it. I would say I liked it overall. It's so hard to talk about it without just delving
going into the spoilers
and stuff to really give a more nuanced opinion. I know I did really like it. It actually kind of felt like I thought it would feel. I felt a little Chuck Palahniuk, and I don't mean that as an insult. I mean that as kind of a compliment.
I made this horrible cheap shot, and they always know a cheap shot.
And it's got that first person storytelling style. I thought the characters were all very intriguing in their own right. Because even though it's in first person, he does a really great job of like making sure you understand the other characters, which is often sometimes it's difficult when you write in the first person like this. We actually talked about this. We talked about The Invention of Sound and how that book actually fucks that up a little bit. It doesn't do it gets a little muddled. I never felt anything in this was muddled. Everything was very clear. I understood the motivation and where everybody was coming from. I liked the structure of the book. I thought the idea that you're basically taking a thriller structure, but it's really just a domestic drama. And that actually adds to the momentum and the pace of the book. And it makes you feel like you're reading something until it starts revealing itself. It's not really what you're reading. And I had a lot of fun with that.
Absolutely, man. I think very like similar reaction too, because for me, like it was a slow burn, but I still felt very intrigued into just the way he wrote Barb, the main protagonist in this, and just like her constant spiral and cycle into like different avenues. Right, we'll say that for the walkthrough, but you felt trapped in it. I remember thinking to myself at one point, like one note I had is like about 100 pages in, and I just remember thinking like, she confronted her husband at a bar, and this has been the most action packed, or this has been like you've been feel like he does a great job of making you feel like tense. You feel the tension, you feel the anxiety, and you really get into that mindset of this crazy like woman, or this woman feeling crazy, and you're just like, well, we'll say crazy woman, but like well, we'll say that for later. But like you're just doing that, you just think about it, like these are all just like plain people in a plain part of the world and doing nothing, fantastic. You're right. The most interesting thing about the main protagonist is that she's like, massive, like a massive bodybuilder, right?
Yeah.
But yet you are hooked. So it's like reading a train wreck, right? And it's just keeping you going there. So I thought that in itself was a great feat, to not only using a unreliable, first person narrator to give you enough context of the people around her, like her universe as well. So you still felt like that, and you still felt like a good idea of like, what's off, or, what I mean? Like you still felt very like in tune with like, what's happening.
Well, because I think he does a good job, especially with Barb, is that Barb, the main character, never feels like a caricature. Like he gives her humanity. She's not like a freak show, even though the world around her kind of treats her that way to a certain extent. But I think it does, even though you are kind of, I don't want to spoil too much right now, but you're like you said, she's a little bit of an unreliable narrator to a certain degree, but she's also self-aware that she gaslights herself. So it's kind of an interesting perspective on that character, and that's something they clue you in on like very early. The writer Simon Fay here, he makes it very clear who she is about 40 pages in. That you start kind of understanding that the nature of Barb, very clear. Like I said, I feel like everybody is very clearly etched. There wasn't too much caricature stuff, which is something, people, their first time writing novels sometimes can fall into, because you fall back on archetypes. And there's definitely a little bit in this, because there's a little bit of like role reversal stuff that goes on, especially when it comes to gender stuff. There's a little bit of identity problems and how we identify ourselves through our relationships with other people, and how important that is to maintain, because if somebody else changes, that means you may have to change, etc. And I think it does a really good job of weaving its way through that without you ever feeling confused, because this is like it's about her psyche. And it's full of flaws and contradictions, just like a regular person. But I never really felt out of step. There was never a moment where I was just like, well, that's stupid. Like, why would she do that? Like, I understood exactly why she was doing what she was doing every step of the way. She's like literally, there are moments where she's literally realizes that she's wrong and then lies to herself on the walk over to confront somebody, and re-lies to herself to make herself mad again. Like, and that's something you might miss. Like if you were passively reading, I'm really glad this wasn't on Audible, because I don't know if that might have been missed. That nuance might have been missed on me. But because it's something they could really miss, because he's not drawing your attention to the fact that she's constantly kind of lying to herself about her situation. She's in denial about a lot of things. Yep.
No, absolutely. And it just it does really great with the concepts of just like power structures that we deal out with, like control, and that aspect that you touched on just earlier too, like relationships, maintain it in your life, and what is that balance, right? And so you're dealing with this narrator. It's a very controlled person, a bodybuilder, it's very focused and disciplined in a lot of areas, and it's funny to see that juxtaposed with everything that is not from her, from her spouse, to the way people in her gym interact with her, and like her less than robust like social life, right? And so it's really interesting to kind of see that all play out. I think do we want to do the reviews now, or we would want to pull them up?
What the other people's reviews were? I can pull a few up here. So here's a 1-star review, just because we always do this. So if you're watching this, Simon, this is what we always do this. 1-star review here. I tried. I really did. The synopsis was very intriguing, but the book just went nowhere and seemed pointless. Although I have to admit, I only made it about 35% of the way through. Not my cup of tea. Don't even leave a fucking review, asshole. You gotta at least finish the book. It didn't make any sense. I got a third of the way through and I was confused.
And I was done. I got everything done. Called a first act, buddy. Fuck off. Next.
Here's a 5-star review. I had a feeling this could be a good one, and I was right. It's one of those books that just sucks you in, and I'm afraid I gobbled it up in one sitting. Really enjoyed it and laughed out loud in places. Looking forward to the next one from this talented writer. I hope you paid your mom well, Simon. Pamela says, I know I'm being such a...
What was the name of that one? Because there's one that was just like a disgustingly Irish name, and I was just like, it's a hometown vote.
This is Faith Hogan. Faith Hogan. I don't know. This is from Goodreads. I'm reading them off of Goodreads right now.
Okay.
Let me see here. Here's another one from Goodreads. Not as funny as promised, and not one likable character in this dull mess. Action starts at about 90%, then it's just messed up and a little too little, too late.
Oh man,
what a nice lady.
Mm-hmm. Well, at least she made past 33% of the book. So
this
allegedly.
One I think is the one you're talking about. Eowyn Barclay.
Yeah.
Eowyn. That sounds like some Irish ass bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
And I can say that because my name's literally Sean Patrick Deegan. I'm allowed to say that.
Yeah. Well, we're both filthy mix, so at heart. So.
It says this book is remarkably hard to review and recommend to friends, as the story isn't so much a story as a window into the lives of a group of people told from the perspective of the strangest member of the group. Having said that, the characters are beautifully written and come off the page as fully formed people, flaws and all. As the tension in the story built, I found myself reluctant to put the book down, and I found myself being caught up in the narrator's paranoid and increasingly frantic thought process, becoming frantic myself. I would strongly recommend this book to anyone, even though I wouldn't necessarily be able to give them any reasons other than read it and see. Looking forward to the more from the author and interested to see what his next book entails.
Right, and that kind of ties into like your opening statement, or like why would you read that? Because you're like, it's hard to get into it without getting into a spoiler alerts, right?
Yeah,
it
is. It is actually because you want to qualify things immediately.
Mm-hmm.
Like, okay, this is why I think this. But this one is from Anani Mouse, 3 stars. This book is really strange, but oddly compelling. Just odd. And here's one more from Kindle Customer. Hell of a name right there. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure if the author is British, but the book is a bit rude and doesn't go very far. It reminded me of a British sitcom.
There you go. I pulled that, but you can definitely see that like a dry delivery on like an old BBC show.
Oh, I could see the movie of this very easily. Actually,
yeah.
Actually would lend itself to like a drama, like a very easily to a movie, to a dramatic movie. I could see that like being kind of stylized and get like yourself an Edgar Wright or David Fincher or something, or maybe the guy who did The Wrestler. What's his name? Aronofsky.
Oh, good one. Yeah, we just need to get Helen Bonham Carter to gain like 40 pounds of mass and just have at it.
Put her in a suit,
but
dude.
But there's so many people do CGI actually. Yeah, make.
You know how like.
But she would nail. She would nail a Barb.
She would be a good Barb. That's I was actually when I was reading it, I was trying to think of who would be a good Barb. I thought of Charlize Theron for some reason. I was like, Charlize Theron might be able to. I think you put some prosthetics and stuff on her, get her in a fat suit,
bring Charlize Theron in for the sex thing, and then have Helen Bonham Carter do the heavy lifting with that.
Yeah. But you don't think Charlize Theron's a good actress? She's weird.
No, I think she's an amazing action actress.
Amazing action actress. Oh, okay. You ever see Monster, buddy? You ever see Monster?
Did you ever see Monster? I saw Fury Road.
My world is ruined.
That's all I need to know. That's all I need to see. Let me tell you, man.
You ever see Aeon Flux?
Yeah.
You remember that one?
Oh, I sure do. But the last one I pulled up, he's like, I think this guy's British or something. That had me laughing so loud. It's like, this is just odd. And I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to say that it was like, Clockwork Orange, like trying to understand that, like NatSat. It wasn't like NatSat, but I would say like there's a couple things, and then I was just like, fuck, like I had to go Google. I'm like, what the fuck is a chipper? I'm like, okay, a chipper is where you get fish and chips. All right, cool, yeah, got it. Yeah, so like, there's so things. So like I said,
you couldn't. You see,
like at that, but I was just like the chipper. So like it's you know me, dude. I'm fucking weird. I'm like I gotta see that. I'm so weird. This is not a spoiler. But it's something, right? So like we'll lead into that. But the use of the song by ABBA, Dancing Queen. That was that. Yeah, we'll talk about that. But he makes one reference where, our main protagonist is at a party and Dancing Queen plays, and then he makes the other song, I think Dreamland or something. I'll correct him.
It's just it's 2 other ABBA songs play.
ABBA songs play, but I just wonder in there because the guy is so astute with Kubrick and everything like that. I'm like, I wonder if that's like an indication of like how long she's been at that party. Like if it played down to that one. So you look at it, it's the last song of the CD because he specifically mentions the CD like was playing, right?
Yeah.
So you look down that one, the 1997 version ABBA release of that. So it came up that way. So I'm just the reason why it doesn't really do anything with the story, but the reason why I do it is because I'm fucking weird like that. I'm like the chipper. And I look into all that, so that's my own.
I thought of it because we know him as being a movie guy, a movie video essayist. Mm-hmm. I was just like, oh, this is what he would like if this was a movie. Mm. This is what he wants you to think of in your head. That's the soundtrack for the scene.
Right.
And I thought it was very effective. It actually worked perfectly. I love that song. I love that.
Yeah. Well, who doesn't love that song in particular? Who doesn't love that?
Dude, ABBA's all right, man. Like ABBA's okay.
But it's one of those things. Like the older you get, the more you appreciate it. Yeah,
you let all that bullshit go, and you're just like, oh, I don't listen to that. It's like, yes,
that's not metal. That's not brutal. I don't want that.
It's good music. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, man. Oh yeah.
All right, so let's wrap up our spoiler free.
All right, it's happening.
Okay, so out of 5 stars, give me your star rating, and then just like a brief last word.
4, my man. I give it 4. I give it a 4 song. Last thing I'd love to pitch and delivery it is, but I don't give anything a 5 unless if you are the Chuck.
Yeah, unless you're Chuck Palahniuk or a master of the arts. I would give it a 3.75 myself, and I think it's a really strong first effort. I'm actually kind of bummed that he hasn't written more. Maybe that's a little selfish of me. Because I think the guy is a real talent, and there's really something in there, and I really appreciate that. This is a deceptively simple story. It seems very simple, but there's actually a lot going on in the subtext and the layers of the story, which we're going to get into. So he's more than capable. I don't know if he brought it home entirely. Maybe we'll get into that, but I really liked what I saw here. I really did. And it's a really, especially for a first novel. And I'll just say this as a frustrated, like amateur writer at times myself, just being able to finish a book is a minor miracle. And to get other people to read it is almost insurmountable. So kudos to you, my friend. Kudos to you, Simon. Cheers, buddy.
Cheers, buddy.
And now let's rip it apart. No, I was joking. I'm kidding.
So like you said, like when I reached out to him on Twitter, I was going back and forth, like, is this too weird? Is this like a creeper thing, like, or whatnot? And he's like, super cool. He's super cool. And he's like, I want to know about it. I'm like, well, I'm just going to ask you annoying questions. Like, are you Dr. Faye? That's mentioned in the novel. That's these bars, right? But I got to let everyone else had that same conclusion. Like I said, I'm weird. He wouldn't confirm or deny it. So I'll do that.
No,
he did admit to not having a medical background, but he will not confirm or deny if he's Dr. Faye. So just let you know.
Actually, that's very cool, and it's something that we do not, I think, utilize enough with like the social media and access. Is like if you like something by like an independent artist or something, shoot him a message just for nothing. You're not looking for anything. You're not looking for them to return your message or whatever. Just be like, hey, I do it all the time. I'll just reach out. I'll just be like, hey, I really like this thing you made. It was awesome. Good job. That's it.
Yeah,
that's it. I think it's something, so many people go unappreciated for the effort that they put into things, and everybody's a frustrated artist in their own way, and it's good to acknowledge when you enjoy something like that.
Absolutely, because we get enough criticism, like elsewhere too. So it's nice.
Yeah.
It's very nice, man. Yeah, so just kind of like rolling into it, man. He did a great job just like kind of setting the tone of, who Barb is, just right in the beginning when she's talking to Dr. Faye about wanting to be able to have a baby. So she's, like we said in the non-spoiler section, a bodybuilder. She just had a competition recently. She's still taking anabolic steroids, and she's been off it about around 3 weeks at the time she sees a doctor, but lies to Dr. Faye to say, it's been about 10 months. And just trying to get everything in check because she wants to start having a period again and she wants to have a baby with her husband, finish the home nesting, as they said, or something like that.
Yeah.
And then, but like what the reason why I'm like bringing this point out there too, just to let you know, because you can make another reasonable assumption she's competitive because she's into competitive muscle building. But he's like, get off this. There might be a chance you'll start having your periods again in 4 weeks. And she's like, I'll have it in 2, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's before the first chapter even gets into that, right? And then
it's a statement about her personality and the type of person is, because she goes into that she's been doing this her entire life.
Yeah,
she's been a bodybuilder her entire life. If you know anything about bodybuilders, this is something, or specifically female bodybuilders, sometimes they become infertile because of steroid use and also just from the exercise, just the intensity of it. And she's in her late 30s at this point. Like, this is kind of her last chance. If she's ever going to do it, it kind of has to be now.
Yep.
And like you said, it kind of clues you into that competitive nature that she has. And also this idea that Barb likes to will things into existence. Like, Barb kind of doesn't take no for an answer, even if she should. And it's a great setup, which leads into learning about her home life and her husband Stu. Him being I don't know if he was. I know he started the gym with her. I don't think he was a bodybuilder though.
No, he was a football player. Well, yeah, soccer player, but they call it football.
No problem calling it football. It's a game played with a ball that is struck with the foot. Hence, football. You see?
What they do over there?
But he was fit, soccer player, and liked her. And then over time, and
it's over time is because Barb, and this is something that they get into the story later, is that she has like this desperate maternal nature, and she basically created a person that would be dependent on her. Mm-hmm. So she made him fat, so he wouldn't leave her. Essentially, she needed to be the only thing he could have, and this is what leads into her neuroses, her neurotic nature. Right. About it is revealed soon after this that she's paranoid that Stu may be having an affair. And the only reason she thinks that is because Stu wants to lose weight, wants to get fit, wants to do something better for himself. He feels like shit, etc. So she gets suspicious. And then you start meeting their other friends. You meet some of her friends, like Stu's friends, really, actually, because Barbara doesn't have friends.
No, she has.
She has employees, and then the people she trains.
Yep,
that's all Barbara really has in her life. That's all she cares about. That's all she thinks about. Mm-hmm. It's about performance, basically. She's a very performance-driven person. Her entire identity, her entire life, is wrapped up in in her husband Stu and being a bodybuilder.
Yep. And then we are introduced to her coming off, trying to get off steroids and trying to get back into her natural cycle. So just that alone, if everything was going around, physically, she's already got some, complications and challenges going on with it. Right. Mm-hmm. And so just to piggyback on to what you're saying too, and then just feeling this because she has this control with herself. There's several references to if you talk to anyone that's into bodybuilding, they count carbs, they count calories, they watch their water intake and what's happening, right?
Yeah.
She equally she tracks that just as much as she tracks giving Stu food, right? And that was the weird things when she went to go to the chipper.
No, it's a great.
Do you know what a chipper is, Sean? Do you know what chipper is?
Yeah.
No, but when she goes in there, well, he doesn't want to, fuck you. But anyways, she goes there and just thinking all right, I'm going to get him more. And then they have more, 4 bags of fish and chips, and then some quarter-pounder cheeseburgers. Just bringing all this food, just fucking loading them up. And then what I loved, this still a reference to counting and controlling intake, is that after they had sex, that she's calculated the calories that he burned. Thrusting her in the act, and then trying to then giving her more food afterwards to balance that out. This is what you're going to be.
It's a great thing in the beginning because as the story goes on, you learn more about Barb. It kind of reveals what it really is, which is about her, not about him. And because it's such this act of affection, this love. Mm-hmm. I accept you. I accept my husband. Mm-hmm. I accept him for this. Even though we're mismatched, but I love him. It's almost like this. She's trying to sell you as the reader that she's like a deeply caring, loving, magnanimous person.
While simultaneously telling you that she made him into this beast, to this fucking Jabba the Hutt like lard.
Well, in the beginning though, it's a little nebulous whether this is like, did this just happen to him? Did he just start on this path and she just accepts it and goes on with it, or did she actually spur it on in the first place? I don't know if it ever really makes that clear, but it became the dynamic of their relationship. That is what, and then it became like she has a codependency problem with him,
right?
Where she takes him for granted and smothers him, and the only thing that she feels like will keep him with her is to indulge him in this way, and like that's part of her, I guess, her personality. Or where she's at, and there's these little context clues that I think the writer Simon Fay did a really good job of like kind of laying the groundwork for later reveals.
Exactly, because it makes the readability like really great. Because when you go back and revisit some chapters, you're just like, oh my god, oh yeah. So like like all these things there, like you didn't even know you're getting foreshadowed, son. Like this is happening. Like the first sex scene. That's when you go and revisit that. You're just like, oh yeah. Red flag. But thankfully, if it wasn't for that unreliable like narrator like talking about that, like you wouldn't have made it. Like, oh, no, people got their kinks. People got their kinks.
Well, I figure I will say. I mean, we are in spoilers, but I mean, so we'll get deeper into it as it no pun intended as it goes. But so what Paul's referencing is that he asks Barb, they're having sex, and he wants to come in her ass.
Oh, you nasty.
Which I actually about halfway through the book I figured it out.
Yeah,
but I wasn't sure. I wasn't 100%. But because of like how specific all the other foreshadowing was, I was like, I know exactly what's going to happen.
This is rolling out.
It was like I think it's like page like 70 or something like that when she confronts him in the bar with a friend.
Yeah.
And I was like, at that point, I knew, because I was like, it's not going to be the obvious things they're putting in front of me in the beginning of the book. Right. So I knew that was going to come in. So I kind of figured that out. But anyways, I'm getting ahead of myself.
Oh yeah, no worries. Yeah, so like just kind of taking that, like, why does Barb like think he's cheating on her? Because this is where we're introduced to our next character, his friend Todd, that brings him on there, and they're going to go out to meet like another couple. It's Peggy, and I forget. I
just forgot his name too. I had it in my head like 5 minutes ago. He's kind of a boring character, but Peggy.
He's a boring character, and he's a cuck, so we can just cuck him in this review as well, right?
Yeah.
But Peggy, as you read, so like I like how like Simon Fate said, like made the specific use of like I see the words "juicy" written across her ass, because you exactly know like what you're talking about, like the type.
Well, I would say all of the characters are relatable in a weird way. Like there are people you've kind of met or maybe even know.
Yeah,
you like they're
it's like playing people in a plain like part of the world, like it's everywhere. It'd be anywhere like Middle America or like Massachusetts where we grew up, New Hampshire. Like like you've seen variations of all this. Although I would say we never met like a real muscle woman, but we've met someone equally as controlling and crazy.
Yeah, we've met codependent people. So yeah.
Yeah. Oh, man. There you go. These nice words. Novella, serendipitous. Go. Hey, look at you, man. Look at you. Try to show me up, son. What you drinking? What you drinking? You saw that? You saw the Jim Beam crick? Did you get all some? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I'm still drinking that more.
High West, man. Almost done with it though.
I think I'm going to try to get some of that this weekend. So.
Yeah. So, but anyways, yeah. So like Stu, gets introduces her friend Todd, and as you read early in the book synopsis, this agent, skirt chaser, blah blah. He goes out of his way to be, extremely crass, and talk about this, go make it out, and then they go introduce, and he starts talking about this diet, which triggers off in her mind like, this is literally my life. Barbara is thinking like, why would you talk to anybody else about fitness, other than your wife, who has a gym, who has competed ever since you've known me, like to do this, right? Actually, Stu got her into competing, like when they were younger. He got her into this and pushed her to become more masculine and buff.
Brandon, take it, Brandon.
Brenda, come on, put the helmet on. No, let's roll.
Anyways. But like,
Man loves some broad shoulders.
and that's what started to spiral. So when she got men, then she just had in her mind, who could this be? Introduces Peggy, this just kind of like, trashy, very like, overly friendly with everybody. Seeking
She's
that,
like a she's a
attention.
trashy normie girl. Normie means she's a little she's younger than all of them.
But has a child.
She's a flirt. She's very flirtatious. Kind of comes off like a little bit like a skank, I guess you could say. Is that the technical term, skank?
I believe so.
She's a little bit of a skank. And she's worried that Stu has taken a fancy to her because she's so flirtatious, openly flirtatious.
Right.
And it is kind of revealed as the story goes that that's just kind of who she is, and that she doesn't actually mean very much by it. That she's got her own problems and stuff like that. It's just kind of a way. That's how she gets things. That's how she gets people to love her, is by acting that way.
Right.
But so Barb obviously immediately sees this as a threat. And then in combination with learning that her husband wants to lose weight, what the fuck, dude?
Yeah.
And then she starts to spiral, I guess, pretty much right away.
Yeah.
Right away, her mind just starts, the wheels in her brain just start turning, and she's just like, oh, this fucking bitch. And then it comes, and then, Peggy has everything that Barb thinks she wants because she has a little daughter that she treats like garbage, like abandons, like her and Stu have to take care of this kid one night. And this is another theme in the book where she constantly talks about kidnapping the daughter, which kind of plays into her role as just a maternal figure. And that's what she is, because she's like that to a lot of people. Like, she is a trainer. She runs that gym, and she with other kind of weird, lonely misfits. Exactly. And she's kind of like their mom. She's their center. She is their center of gravity. And so she has like this, like I said, she has this innate, natural desire to be a caretaker. She wants it like really bad, and she doesn't even realize that she's doing it in her normal life. Like, it's a subconscious thing.
Right. And it's also like equally as bad as, Peggy, in the ways that she abuses those relationships, to include like her spouse, and then with the people that she trains and the people that she works with. Right. So like one of her like escapades to try to like, track Stu, because Stu is a cab driver and he drives around stuff that she gets one of her, proteges in there, and then has her drive her all the way around town, making up these lies. I think Stu's having an affair. They're doing this, and then you have like some kind of like comical scenes where they're trashing, and she's just you just, it was like one of those times too, just like, man, like she is committed. She is committed to like this one.
Well, she's committed to her own delusions, and that's kind of the thing about Barb. Like I had said in the spoiler free section, is that there are literally moments where she knows that she's wrong, and that she will then turn around and just start lying to herself again.
Yeah.
And it's like, and it's part of it's because she has to have an answer. She has to know what it is to be able to solve it and be in control of it.
Right.
Like, that's kind of her perspective. Like, if I know what's wrong and I know what's going on, then I can fix it and I can control it. If I don't, which is that's a very normal human thing. She just takes it farther than most people would.
Yep.
But yeah, and there's I mean, that is kind of where it goes next. Yeah.
Well, yeah, it kind of goes there, right? And so she's pursuing and tracking them. They get into domestic dispute where she fucking locks them in there overnight in the bathroom, right? Like, just to keep them there. I'm going to shut you in. I'm going to keep you there, like the same way. And that was the more overtly manifestation of like her controlling him, as in the subtle, not so subtle way of like, overfeeding them to keep him on the couch, making her the only thing that he could like physically, get, right, sexual matter, like dependent on. And now you took it like the next step up there with her as she starts spiraling out of control, like locking her in, right? And then it's the weirdest thing like to talk about, because like I said, it's a slow burn. You keep going, and he does this great job just talking about everything building up, the whole like internal narrative of how did I get here, what's going on here, and just watching her spiral, rationing herself, like you said, like into I'm right, I am wrong, what am I doing, this is right, and then and then what she actually does, right? And then getting in there. So it's basically like tit for tat with like a couple things there. There's a funny scene where she's at the mall with Peggy because Stu's like, we need to have friends. Maybe if you go have a day with her, you would relax, because she's still on the fence with, is Stu trying to get Peggy? Because like mind you, she's spending the entire book thinking like he's having an affair, and she keeps convincing herself that he's having an affair, but she doesn't know what it is, and still internally killing her inside her. And so
because and I don't want to let Stu completely off the hook. Stu is being deceptive. Mm-hmm. Stu is hiding something. He is not coming clean about something. He's lying to her about where he goes. So it's not like she's completely crazy to think that there's something wrong. She just doesn't know specifically what it is. So she tries to pull from the kind of limited information she actually has about the people who Stu knows and her own life. So she has a limited cast of characters in her own life. So she has to kind of assign that role to Peggy because that's the closest thing she has to somebody she thinks that could happen with.
Right. Yeah, that's all she can identify. That's all she knows, because she's kept herself in such a limited space, right? Her whole life is confined to the gym and the home, and the couple kilometer walk it is to like get in between those two spaces, right? But yeah, that's an important part too. Like, you do have belief that there is something going on, because she was already spying on him though when she goes to the library and sees him like on the internet and quickly showing the browser, and she catches that something's going to happen, go down Saturday, like this following Saturday, which is why she has one of her protege follow him around on the cab, right? And so, so she was already like following him there. So it's mainly driven by suspicion. She's turned off by Todd, who she already despises this guy. Going on about you need to get on the diet, thinking that I want Stu to join me on my be my fellow agent skirt chaser, right? Yeah, to go do this. So and then it segues into like, are we going to meet this other couple, and Peggy being one of that, and then she fixates on that, and then it goes back and forth with is it her or is it not her, and she never really gives it up until like we get to the party where that part's revealed. And I'm trying to think right now, like in this recap, like on there wasn't really like too much of a like merit. I don't want to say filler, but like too much merit till you get to the party. Like
it's a very lean story, and a lot of it is just about her internal monologue. I mean, there's a lot of it is just her internal monologue. So you have kind of limited amounts of scenes. That's kind of why I think like it kind of lends itself very easily to being a movie. Yeah, because it is kind of tight. There's not a lot of like set pieces, if you will. There's not a lot of scenes. It's mostly inside Barb's head and what she's experiencing and what she's thinking about. I mean, because like half the book's inside of her house. It's like in her kitchen and her living room and in her bedroom. Right.
But
what?
No, go for it.
No, and what she's doing is just like projecting these neurotic thoughts out onto everyone else. But like I said, they're not completely unfounded, and that's some pretty normal stuff. You could say that you could accuse Barb of maybe being possessive before you really know who Barb is. But I think through all that stuff, I felt Barb was a very I had a lot of empathy for Barb. I felt bad for Barb. It does a good job of making you feel sympathy for her in a way. I don't know if you felt that. I did. I certainly did.
No, because you're hooked onto like her sob story and what she's telling, and then like,
but it's not as simple as just being a sob story though, because it's just the circumstances of her life, and she's like our age basically, and she has all this stuff, all this history. She's going through this weird time where she wants to make this big change as a person. And that is like creating a cascading domino effect in the rest of her life. Where, now her husband also wants to redefine the terms of their relationship and their identities. Like Barb is having a crisis of identity. So is Stu. They're not sure they're happy with who they are, the life they've built. And they're kind of coming to terms with that to one degree or another. They're just doing it in their own ways. So like, I never thought it's just me. I never thought Barb was like crazy. I thought she was wrong a lot of times, but I don't think she was. I never I never saw what she was doing and was just like, well, that's fucking insane.
Yeah, well, in another life, then you probably would have dated Barb, and you'd probably be Stu. Stu to some degree. Like, you'd definitely be all about, pick that up from the chipper. You know what that is? And then, like, be all about that, good old Big Paul here, that same relationship, good buddy, which we'll get to there. But no, I understand what you're saying, like, empathetic, and like, maybe it was a little too harsh to say like sob story because she is going, but it is all self-imposed and it is all like, driving into it. So she kind of made this, made her own bed, so to speak, like with this. And then like you said, we do have indications of Stu, being like deceptive, and it's just kind of coming to this head. And again, it's all through her lens. A woman who's been on steroids her whole adult life, who's been off it for 4 weeks, trying to get back into her natural cycle. While
her hormones are going crazy, which is something he never talks about.
You don't have to, and that's what's great. That's what's great about it. He doesn't like hold your hand like to the much. Like, there's like all this like subtle shit that you just kind of put together. I would have liked, like a key or a legend there for like what all that fucking filthy Irish slang meant.
As well, feck is a weaker version of the word fuck, as I said in another video, and Aegis is a variation of the word idiot. It's like an Irish, and it's like someone with a really strong Irish.
We'll get that time. But yeah, no, man. But what's it before, like, the big like party event here was when they went I'm sorry, do you want to say something before that?
No, you're good.
Yeah, it was when they went to the mall with Peggy and her daughter, and they go.
There's hold on, but we're getting ahead of ourselves because there's one scene before that, which is the one where she finds out where Stu's been going. He's going to a bar to hang out with his buddy Todd, because Todd's mother is in the hospital, deathly ill, going to die any day. Todd is distraught. He's being a bro. He's hanging out with his buddy. Yeah. For some reason, he doesn't want to just tell Barb that. Because he thinks, and the reason he gives, because this is the thing. This is what I'm saying. Like, Stu gaslights her a little bit because he gets there and he accuses her of being neurotic, of being crazy. How could you possibly think this of me? How could you think that I would be doing something like that? How could you understand?
You understand why I'm mad. You get that, right? Tell me you get that. Right?
Yeah. Which well, let's just spoil it, okay? Because we have to talk about why it's gaslighting. We have to.
Okay.
Well,
right now.
Listen, these guys are not just friends.
See,
okay?
Sean is a guy that can't hang on because in America we call it prairie dogging.
Dad, I'm prairie dogging it.
What the hell does that mean?
Like when a prairie dog sticks his head in and out of the ground.
Ow!
But in Ireland, they say, "I got a turtle poking out."
Oh,
so
you
Sean,
turtle
headed, fuck off. No, yeah, it's prairie dogging. Everyone knows.
Well, as a child, it was called turtle heading in my.
Bullshit. No,
it was. So, anyways, the reason why it's gaslighting is because he is doing something deceptive. He is actually cheating on her. I guess I won't say who, but like he is cheating on her. And he's making her feel like a piece of shit for even imagining that he was even capable of that. So like, yeah, Barb has got her problems. Barb's hormonal. Barb's going a little crazy. But Barb's also not wrong. Maybe the way she goes about things is the problem. It's the way and we see this illustrated when they go to the party, basically, is that she goes with these assumptions. She may have like a gut instinct that is right, but she doesn't have the facts. She doesn't actually know the real information. She just has this like sense of something being off.
Yeah. Well, with the party scene though, like she's going in hot. She's going in hot with all.
She's going in hot because it's coming off of her spending a day with Peggy, which ends in Peggy trying to steal dresses and stuff it in Barb's purse, and then Barb ended up getting her face smashed in because she's trying to save this duck from choking on a hot dog.
Yep.
And,
Yeah.
So
and then
she's,
she goes to the plastic surgeon, right? She goes to the plastic surgeon with Barb, and then she finds out that she's very friendly with this doctor and whatnot, and then makes a conclusion that she's banging this plastic surgery. That's how she's getting all this work done. Because earlier throughout the novel, you're hearing how does she get all this work done? I know her husband's well, but he's not that well off. What's going on with all this? So she sees going in there, and then she gets some work done, and she ends up getting all bandaged up. So this infamous party scene, when she's going in there, she's already been through this emotional roller coaster. Now, I don't know what you say about a few months now. At this point of what's going on with my Stu? What's he doing? What's he onto? Then am I tracking Peggy back and forth? Peggy, she doesn't deserve her daughter. Now it should be me. She fantasizes, several times. He makes several notices of her wanting to. Adopt her because she would do such a better job at it than her.
Yeah, adopt or kidnap or just outright kidnap. Even at the parties, she counts the steps on the stairs to try to determine how quickly she could steal the kid. She's coming in hot. She's very hot, to trot.
Yeah, but her big reveal, she's also going to this party, still bandaged up. She's a big woman. I think they make reference. She's around 6 something, right? She's early 6 foot tall, big woman with muscular, and then bandage wrapped her face, just already looking like a scene, even without the bandage. She's noticeable. Going in there, and she's going into this party surrounded by people who are undisciplined and everything like that. And that's the other thing. Anytime that Stu drags her into a social event, she's immediately uncomfortable because she knows people are looking at her like she's a freak, and she's also disgusted by everyone's lack of discipline, except for her Stu, because her Stu is a illustration of her discipline, her commitment to make him that way, which is if you think about it, really fucked up. But she's going to this big party that Peggy's and her husband are hosting, and she's going to let everybody know in a big dramatic way that she's banging the plastic surgeon doctor. That's her goal.
That's going to be her. That's going to be her revenge. Her revenge on this person, which is an example of what she was doing with Stu. She may have a sense that there is something going on somewhere, but she doesn't really understand the particulars of it. But she comes to believe her own presumptions. She sees Peggy pass a note to the doctor when they're in the office. She has no fucking idea what that note is.
Right.
No clue. She has no idea. She just says, that's a fucking love note. That's a love note. What else could it be? Clearly she's having an affair with this guy. So she wants to go blow up Peggy's spot because Peggy is overly flirtatious. She's young. She's gorgeous. By all, I guess by the way, at least I think they imply that she's I don't know, she's a good looking younger girl. And she kind of resents her for that. She resents her because Barb is uncomfortable at this point in her life with who she is because she's trying to move outside of this world of competition and the gym and a place where she feels valued, a place where she belongs, into this other world of normies. She's very uncomfortable with it because in the normie world, she's a freak. In the bodybuilding world, she's an absolute specimen. Just the best. Top of the top dog in the female bodybuilding world.
She gets the attention Peggy gets everywhere she goes, only in her domain, right? And so there's definitely some envious aspects there too.
So she's coming in with all this stuff just kind of backloaded. All this resentment, all this stuff building up. On top of that, thinking that Stu might have slept with her at some point, and then thinking that she knows this thing about her and the plastic surgeon, only for it to be interrupted by the daughter. The daughter wakes up. They're at a house party at Peggy and her husband's house. The daughter wakes up. She kind of backs off. She's like, "Oh, I can't do this. I can't take this away from her. I don't like it." Because she has a moment of clarity, more lucid moment. She's like,
"Calms the fuck down.
I can't steal this from this child. This will be over if I do this. I will destroy this if I do this." Because even though she doesn't like those people, that kid is happy. The
Right.
kid is loved. Even if Peggy's a bitch.
Right.
You know?
Right.
And
Yeah, she
so
goes back on
she
that.
backs off on it, and she just pretends like she was gonna make a toast about what a great couple Peggy and this other dude are, this other cuck. And then it ends up and then she ends up seeing there's a part of the book we didn't mention that like Stu has been looking for this green jersey. He's been looking for this green jersey. They bring it up like 4 or 5 times prior to this, like the whole time. Have you seen my green jersey? Have you seen my green jersey? She sees the green jersey in Peggy's laundry. And then obviously thinks that confirms what her original suspicions were, that Stu had been sleeping with her.
Yep. Then we find out through this confrontation in the basement, which not far away from the rest of the party. So like I think everyone kind of hears this exchange, if I'm not mistaken. But Barbs confronts Stu, like, you are, here's where your bloody jersey is, like you're fucking her, blah 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 blah. And then the cuck comes down, like, no, she's a klepto. This is a problem. This is a thing. She steals shit all the time. They can't do that. And that was my aha moment for me. That's when I picked it up. Picked it up for me to get to that part, because and then she kind of after that, it's embarrassing. She embarrassed the hell out of Stu again and everyone else, and she comes back to the party, and then he just kind of
Stu fucks off.
He fucks off.
Yeah, Stu bounces. He's like, okay, we're done. And this is after him kind of already threatening to do that when she confronted him at the bar that other time, where it's just like, again, this a little bit of Stu being a little slimy, a little disingenuous.
Yep.
And because he did not sleep with Peggy, she is a klepto. In fact, they pretty much tell you that in the scenes before with the mall and Peggy stuffing a dress in Barb's purse and Barb almost getting like caught by it, and then Peggy making a scene so they can go away.
Yep.
And so Barb is kind of left to her own devices. She walks home in the rain. Like it's very dramatic moment.
Yep.
She walks all the way back home. And then Stu basically is gone for a couple weeks.
He goes there for a couple weeks. She doesn't know where she is. She can assume where she is, and her assumption is right. But just like we didn't mention the green jersey earlier, we also felt like to mention that Stu's like, we got a rat somewhere in the house. We need to get mouse traps.
Yeah, we have a rodent problem. Yeah,
it made a few references to that. So as she's like around, like, what the hell did I do? I just worked myself up in this tizzy. This is, will I ever be able to repair this? What's going on? And then she's thinking about. Then she goes to think about, the rat problem. Then she finally goes up and like gets traps like she said she would, or like way earlier in the book. And she starts catching them. And this is like, I think one of my like favorite sections like of the book, like this whole like wallowing and just.
Yeah. Barb alone in the house.
Yeah. Yeah. She's doing it. Cause like, was it like the invisible man is like what I was like envisioning is she's like all bandaged up, she runs out and she's going to the gym, like one of her proteges comes by, they go see it, she won't take it off, and she's like,
she uses that to hide like her shame. It's like becomes a metaphor for her not wanting to like reveal herself or show herself, because then that means she's gonna have to go back to her life, and in that life Stu left her. And she doesn't want to do that. She doesn't want to face herself, basically, and face the world that she's created as it's all kind of coming down on her. And that whole section with the mice, because it's specifically mice, because they mention the difference between mice and rats. If you have mice in your house is dirty. If you have a rat, it's because it's clean. Apparently, rats like clean houses. The more, which I have no idea if that's true or not, but that's what the way the author presented it. And that whole section is about her wanting to do something that she thinks will fix her relationship in a weird way, because she's like, well, if I just tell Stu he was right about something, it's a way to kind of broach the subject. It just like
throw out the olive branch, or throw out the olive branch. Exactly. Like, hey, I did this and you were right.
Until the last mouse. There's a big fucking mouse. There's a big fucking mouse.
Been there. Looks like he's been there as long as they've been married, right? There's another metaphor that there's been this rat in their relationship.
It's very on the nose. It's very on the nose. I mean, there's a lot of stuff. I think when you go in hindsight, that there's a lot of stuff is like, well, it's very on the nose. This one is the most on the nose of the entire book. Is like this big giant mouse.
I thought that was like I just interpreted that as like a comedy. I just thought that was
so did I.
I was like laughing out loud when I saw that
because it's supposed to be basically a metaphor for her and Stu. So this thing gets caught in the mousetrap, but doesn't die, and then for days just drags the mousetrap around, making noises in the house like a ghost, like the ghost of Stu's like around, right? And it's this mouse, and it's basically a metaphor for what she may have done to Stu. She trapped Stu there. She had trapped Stu in this life, and Stu could never ascend. He could never peacock. He could never be who he wanted to be.
So when she gets into the self-realization of what happened, then what happens, Sean? She finds a box. She finds a box.
I think this is very much like a storytelling convention. This is like a loose, squeaky floorboard. And I can't remember if it was ever brought up before that section.
Well, she's hearing like a rumbling. She's hearing a rumbling, right? Like
no, I know, but was that ever brought up before that section of the book? Was that like something?
I'm not sure.
I can't remember if it was something that they foreshadowed, like, oh, there's a squeaky floorboard or whatever. And she's like, she thinks she's gonna open it up and find like a mouse nest. Right. It's a loose floorboard. What happens is there's like a shoebox in there, full of items, full
of letters, love letters, baby, love letters,
love letters to her husband Stu, from his buddy Todd,
the aging skirt chaser Todd.
Who could have seen it?
Cinderblock Todd, that piece of shit.
Which
put it in the swear jar, Todd. So,
well, that's actually something we didn't discuss either. Is the swear jar? There's like she has this facade of wholesomeness that she's trying to, like this kind of like Leave It to Beaver-esque. Like she wants to have like this perfect, congenial home life where like we don't swear. Like she has a swear jar.
Which was another funny aspect, like to the sex scene. It's like, I want to come in your arse, and like you gotta put it in the swear jar. That was too good.
Can I come in? Can I? Can I come in your bum, mate? Can I come in your bum, mom?
Can I come in your bum, mams? So, yeah. Now you got this.
I mean, who amongst us hasn't been in the throes and be like, yo, I'm gonna fucking come in your ass. Get ready for it. But so this is where I had like about halfway through the book, because of the way that he had been working the foreshadowing in, I was like, why did he point that out? I was like, because he's thinking about a dude. And I knew it wasn't going to be Peggy, because that's too obvious. It's the first thing that's brought up. I thought she might kidnap Peggy's daughter. I thought that might be like the twists.
Like she leaves. Twists. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that might be a thing that happened, but no, it ends up being kind of much more like and I don't mean this as an insult, much more like pedestrian, much more normal. It's not because, like I said in the spoiler-free version, it has the structure of like a thriller, like a mystery thriller. But it's just there's no mystery. there's no real mystery to be solved. It's just their lives,
right?
But the way that we are given information, because of the way Barb has kind of cast herself as like this detective kind of, that's the way we experience the story. And so she goes down to confront Stu about letters, and Stu, being just a bitch, dude, will not come downstairs. Sends her a message. He says, I'll meet you at this bar at like 3:30 tomorrow.
And that's how you know. That's how you know he was loose. It's just confirmed. Confirmed. That's why Oh, because it's massive, like weight, but definitely a bottom. Definitely.
Yeah. Definitely you think he was the bottom?
Well, I don't think he had a choice, Sean. But no, he like Todd. No, who knows the way he described him too. Like Todd was twink status. Yeah, probably. I stand correct.
The way that Todd.
I stand corrected.
So Stu does not come to the bar or the cafe or whatever. Todd shows up in his place. Like Stu just couldn't bring himself to come. So I've, no pun intended. So I've come here in his stead. I've come here instead to talk to you about what Stu, like basically speak for Stu. And he basically turns like immediately into like a gay villain.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Immediately, there's like no illusions or whatever. He's like, oh yeah, I'm fucking your husband.
But is that like hilarious? But like, if who'd you think of?
The actor Rupert Everett. I don't know if you know who he is. He's actually a gay British actor. Rupert Everett. He's a good actor.
He's going to be popping up on the screen here. Don't worry.
Oh, I'll bring him up right now. He's a little too old now. He's too old now. Trying to find a good picture here. Open image and tab. There we go. Here, I got you. Rupert Everett. This is who I thought of. Like, you would have to hear Rupert Everett talk to like understand that. But that's who I immediately thought of. I was like, oh, dude, it's like Rupert Everett, like his gay heel turn.
Yeah, man. So, and then just going after that, man. Like, Stu ends up coming out and then has a heart attack after Barb's fucking.
Yeah, well, because he's like a little fucking weasel. He's out there in the cab waiting across the street, waiting for Todd to finish letting Barb down. But what Todd does is he antagonizes Barb, and Barb, and I mean, I guess it's a little like maybe antiquated. I mean, I don't know. This was written in 2015. Gay marriage had only been legal for a few years in America because he doesn't want to be outed. He's like terrified of being outed because she's like, I will fucking tell everybody.
I'll tell your father.
I'll tell your father. Your mother just died. I'll tell your fucking dad. I'll tell everybody. I'm a gossipy lady. And Todd kind of like, freaks out a little bit.
Right.
And you got somebody behind you. So it may seem kind of antiquated now, but Todd is very concerned about being outed by Barb.
Right.
Very, very outed. And I was thinking about it. This came out in 2015. Gay marriage only been legal in the United States for a couple of years at that point. So I was like, well, maybe there would be something like that. Because it's so kind of crazy. Like even 7 years removed from that, you're just like, oh, why would somebody care?
Right.
We live in such a different world at this point. But but she uses that as leverage basically to threaten Todd and be like, if you don't leave Stu, if you don't just fuck off, don't tell him why, don't explain it to him, just never see him again.
Right.
I will reveal your dirty secret to your father.
Yeah.
And to everybody else, because I'm a chatty lady.
No, I got that. But what was it? So gay marriage in Ireland, if I'm not mistaken, was legalized in 2015.
Ah, okay.
It was 2015, and if you remember that banger from Hozier. Take me to church, I was the black dog at the shine of your light. Take me to church. It was all about that big dramatic thing there. I don't know if you ever saw that music video. Probably not, because
probably not. No, me.
Everyone at Zoobox knows Sean has 5 bands that he listens to, and really one, but there's like 5. So
it served me well. At the gym, I've been a little bit more, exploring a little bit more, and now I found Royal Blood. There's actually not even Royal Blood. One Royal Blood album. The rest of them I didn't like. I like one of their albums.
Yeah.
But anyways.
But yeah, you could be gay in Ireland, cool. But yeah, no, it was edgy at the time. Like when he wrote this, like the fear of being outed, in there, like
because Todd had built this entire facade about himself. Like he was deeply. I guess you could assume,
man. He's the man, dude. He's the man.
Deeply so closeted, and he's so mechanically wants to kind of project himself as this ladies' man, as a skirt chaser, as they say, that he actually checks out the ass of the waitress that comes up and takes his order. He does that because he's so ingrained in the character, he can't even turn it off. Like he's such a duplicitous person, which I guess is like a mirror of all the characters have like some sort of like double life. They all have a secret.
Yeah, well, sometimes keeping their facade alive and well. So yeah. Yeah, but then then she's basically, he's getting all sassy with her.
Yeah, he
going, like,
turns
full,
into like literally
queen.
like a gay villain all of a
Yeah.
sudden. He's like, I got your man. He's mine now. You better just get out of here, Barb.
Yeah, like a not friendly Pee Wee Herman, just going out for blood, going for the
Yeah.
jugular, and she just hits him with some hard truths, like, do you see? Like, I created this monster. I've created this obese. My 600-pound husband, you wouldn't be able to lift him. You know why? Because you're a twink. You're a twink. And I spent my entire life being able to not only, be like, compete in muscle building, but to create myself in a manner to which I can lift this fucker. This is my stew. This is my creation that I made. If this goes happen, like, what if he doesn't recover from this or starts going down to potential medical complications? Are you going to be in there for the good times? Because I made a vow to death do us part. What the fuck did you? What say you, twink? Right?
Yeah, because it all spills out onto the street, and Stu is across the street in the taxi waiting for Todd to do the dirty business.
Yep.
And he tries to hide from Barb because Barb notices him, and he tries to like hide, but he's like too fat to hide in the car, really. and so he just kind of gives it up and, like, gets out of the car and starts approaching her, which sends Todd, he comes out of the cafe behind Barbara, and then they have kind of like a little bit of an altercation, which ends in Barbara knocking him out, like just punching him square in the face, knocking him out. Stu waddles over, then starts having a heart attack.
Yep.
And Stu drops to the ground. The ambulance gets called, and it ends up being like somewhat of a self-fulfilling prophecy. Like Paul had said, she created this thing, and now she's the only one that can even lift him into the ambulance. She's the only one that can save him, which she gets to fulfill her role. Like in this kind of like really the ultimate way. She's literally going to save Stu's life. She's the only one that can do it.
Yeah. No, it's just like, like pushing someone who can't swim into the pool and then pulling them out. Like, I got you, boo. I got you. Like, it's so, no, it's just like really creepy though. Cause like, and then, let's to wrap up the recap, and then they end up going right back into their routine of their like normal lives. They do have this scene where she goes back to the chipper. It goes and is like harassed by kids. I wasn't really sure what the point like of all that was, but that was something that happened in lieu of her.
What was the point of her? Like, because it's her a reaffirmation of like who she is and what she experiences. It's kind of like to remind you a little bit. And about like the kind of the cruelty of society. So like Barb does not happen in a vacuum. Barb is a result of the world around her just as much as Barb is responsible. I think that's kind of what it's getting at a little bit. Like, if you're treated like a monster, do you just become a monster at some point?
Right.
And I think that's kind of like, it's kind of, like it's a little maybe on the nose, a little obvious, but I think that's kind of what it is to one degree or another.
Sure.
And also the whole thing about like, the turning to the kids and saying this older boy, the leader of the group, the one that's kind of the main antagonist of this group, is basically grooming them all to be raped in jail at some point.
Yeah. I forgot about that part. Yeah.
Which goes into her kind of disdain a little bit for what went on with Stu and Todd.
Yeah.
Like she kind of projects that onto that situation a little bit. But like, it's moments like that, like I said before, you can't, it's hard to like really hate Barb. I never really hated her. I never thought she was really like truly a bad person. Misguided, confused. Also, like we had noted, coming off of all the hormones and all that kind of stuff. Like, there's so many things. There's so much context leading up to
her spiraling out of control.
Her spiraling out of control. Yeah.
Right. But then just go into like, the bookend, they mired up to we're back into this cycle, although it's a little more lively, this go around. She finally says the thing she's been burning to say out throughout the whole book, that like, I'm ready to have a baby. And they're all cuddled in on the bed. And then he's talking about, keep that turtle. The turtle's peeking his head out, It's just push it back in. Just push it back in. There we go.
Because she had he had tried to avoid the conversation. Like that's like the first like act of the book. Stu is actively like trying not to talk about having a kid with her, and she basically says, "I don't care if you have to take a shit and try to avoid it again. You're trying to escape the room, like you did before, and I'm not going to let you." No, we're talking because this is also comes after her doing all of this kind of self-affirming kind of monologue about I'm fucking Barbara done. I'm back. I'm a winner.
I make it.
I take what's mine. And she's like, she's not going to allow Stu to not give her what she wants. She's going to manifest this into reality, whether he likes it or not.
Yeah, no, he's in for the ride, and he doesn't have a choice. He tried to escape, but he can't because he's too much of a weasel and a weak person. Here's the thing. Here's the thing, right? So women go through like, this transition in life, stepping down from the competition, competitive world of muscle building, going through this, and then everything that spiraled and transferred and, in this slow burn, that led up like through the story. Right. And so then, a woman affirms herself, regains her confidence, gets the life, takes her life back into control. All this stuff at the end of the day, like, this positive, pro like woman story. But why do I feel, Sean? Why do I feel like the villain won when I closed the book?
I just don't think that it's as clear cut as like the villain won. I don't think so, because I think everybody in the book, to one degree or another, is a little bit of a villain in their own way. They're not. You can like lay the blame of some things at Barb's feet, of course. Like she is just as responsible for her own actions as every other character is. And there's probably some kind of and there's some sort of personality disorder thing going on with her. A codependency with Stu, but at the same time, Stu is also codependent on her. And that and whether or not, like, this is what I meant about it not being clear if she encouraged his weight gain or if she just like allowed it, like encouraged it in the beginning. Like it's not very clear that she like was.
Well, I think it was the same way that he encouraged her to, bulk up, to start, lifting and get.
So in a weird way, they are kind of made for each other. I think that's kind of a little bit of what happens at the end there. And she's willing to go and suffer the slings and arrows, like, for Stu.
Sure.
In ways that other people won't. So she'll go walk down the street and be heckled by a bunch of kids while going to get food at the mart and bring it back to Stu. She's going to be the one that's going to be the caretaker. She's the one that's going to make sure that he's okay. And Stu kind of understands that, I think.
Right. Yeah. But what really makes this a dark comedy is that a woman gets vindicated for acting fucking crazy. So that's the hot take. That's the big.
That's your hot take. She gets vindicated for it.
She's clear because we find out that she's married to a weasel. Or okay, maybe that's too harsh. You know what I mean? But like,
but they're all weasels. They're all liars.
Well, that's the thing.
They're all duplicitous. They all have a double life. They all have a secret. They're all doing something behind each other's backs. Like that's kind of the nature of all of their relationships. Everybody acts like they're all like best friends, best pals. They know each other.
Nobody's what they seem. Nobody's what they seem.
And nobody's
honest. Is this a quaint town in Ireland with just plain regular people, or is there more? And I think that's what is like. Just like what was like fascinating reading about, because it's just like most books that you read, like more you like ponder and stew about it, like you'll feel a certain way, either more positive or negative afterwards, like in reflection. And I just remember like plowing through it after the first 33% of the book. I'm like, I'm just like, man, this is a slow burn, but just like realizing, like, man, this is a but I'm still like intrigued and carrying on, like seeing where this train wreck goes. So like, what's happening here? And I did from the synopsis on like on Amazon, I did expect it to get like crazier, darker, and like in that realm, and the fetus like a realm. And I was kind of hoping.
I mean, the book sets the entire time it's setting you up to expect it to really go off the rails, and it kind of never does. And I would say, like, if I had one criticism, is that like the way that it basically pulls his thesis together at the end of the book, felt very rushed in comparison to the slow burn and the rest of the book.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure I can really get behind this idea of Barb being the Barb at the end of the book relative to what we've seen. And I know there's like a gap of time in between, but there's this whole thing, like, you know, she's back in the hospital with Stu, and then Todd shows up, and that's when she does the thing, like, are you going to take care of him? Do you really love him, or do you really just want to be, was this just easy for you? Because basically Stu's just like he's a pleaser in a weird way. It's almost like he's not really gay. Like he gets like tricked by his friend into thinking he's gay so that he can fulfill his friend's like secret gay desires.
Because he's a stand-up guy, man. I take it back. He's a stand-up guy. You know,
he's a stand-up guy.
He's just a pleaser. He's just a pleaser.
Friend. But that's what I mean. I'm not even like, I'm not, you know, I know that's not being completely literal about that, but like I do think there's an element of that character of Stu that he just wants he goes with somebody that's like going to make him feel comfortable. It's going to build him up, make him feel good about himself.
Right.
And Stu feels attracted to that. And there's a time in his life where that is Barb. Up until the moment that's not her anymore.
Right.
He gets these notions of having like a different, grander life in his head.
Right.
And he's being manipulated by Todd almost as much as Barb is kind of has manipulated him over the years. Like that's just in his character.
Right.
To be kind of a pushover, you know?
Yeah. No, for sure, man. For sure. I'm trying to think, there was one passage, like this book is just chock full of like nice, like little quibs here, but like, earlier in the book when, she finds out that Stu invited Todd over for, you know, their like roast night, like this on the, you know, this is our night and this is what's going to happen. And then she describes it as like a piece of news he delivered like a fart, self-conscious with a ting of pleasure. And like it's just like it's such a poetically crass like delivery of describing like how he delivered the news. And the book is just chock full of like nice like little like tongue in cheek, like quirky like things like that I enjoyed. So like I think like overall like I really enjoyed his writing and you know, story for what is it, it's not like the most like intriguing thing, but I thought it was definitely I think he hit his you know mission statement with that. So you can't ask more from that, and it made me want to check out another type of genre they did. So you know, and we both we apparently like you know we both got his other book. So I'm going to do Icon Violet after, well, probably after we get through American Psycho. So I want to dive on American Psycho, but yeah, no, man. So I mean, I think overall, like I really enjoyed it.
No, it has. I think it, like you said, it's written very well. I think the book is paced very well up until like maybe the last 20 pages. That's I felt, and maybe that's just me as a preference. And like you know, I say this all the time. Like ending a story is like impossible. It's like so hard to end it in a satisfying way. I think everything that happens makes complete sense.
Yeah,
it's not like incoherent or anything like that. I just wish. I wish there was like honestly, I wish there was another 20 pages of like of building back up to that moment at the end of the book.
I thought initially similar to that, but then I thought about because like what we didn't really touch on because I don't think either of those it like struck out too much for us with that, but like her relationship with other people in the gym. She had one protege that ends up leaving her gym to go train with somebody who got an offender bender while they were pursuing, Barbs was having her pursue Stu to see if she was cheating, right? And so that's another thing that it's another element that's tearing away at Barb that she's like losing control. Like this person I was training for this competition has now left me to go to another gym. My husband's going, you know, so you know, it kind of serves into serving her. Excuse me. Hi West, buddy. Hi Rye. Into you know spiraling out of control that just serving to realize that her life has fallen apart, and then she has you know her runner up who is her you know direct employee at the gym that she's like serving. She comes in and out of the story, but
Well,
you're like,
because
but you had to close out. You had to close out that end. So I was thinking that too, like what's going to happen. But then that's all wrapped up in her, like ending diatribe. Like, who do you think won the competition? Who do you think did this? And so it ends like the same way it starts. From this, like I'm going to be like in that, right? So it does kind of come
we
full
don't
circle.
know if we don't even know if that's true or not.
Exactly, and
liar,
and do you need to know? You know what I mean?
No,
Because
no, of course not. No, of course not.
So that was
no, but I think but even that's like another example of Barb's personality, and when she's going through this change in her life is with the first girl that she's trying to train. I can't remember her name, but she crosses the line and becomes overly familiar. And stops being a maternal presence to that girl and then becomes dependent on that girl in a way and then abandons that girl in a moment of need. So she kind of shows herself as not being a reliable teacher, trainer. She's no longer like a mentor in that moment. And she kind of destroys that with the girl. That's why the girl ends up kind of leaving. Because Barb shifted her identity or the role that she was playing for that girl. Something that she never really does with I think is it Cassie or Cassandra is the second in line to be
it's
like
direct
trained.
employee.
Yeah,
right.
Where she maintains that for the most part.
Right.
She almost loses it. She almost loses it at the end because she almost tells her like, "Fuck, you don't even worry about it. You shouldn't do this anymore. This is bullshit."
Right.
But
yeah. I did have one other like observation too. Like when she starts off like rattling off, like, "This is my Waterloo," like going into it, right? And that kind of like stuck with me like through the book as you're following Barb's through her journey, like spiraling and multiple directions, and you're just thinking like, okay, she's like talk about it is like, okay, we are I am like part of the UK and the Netherlands taking on Napoleon, and then you kind of figure out like, is she actually Napoleon losing everything and like what that? So I had fun like thinking about that specific war generally as the reference to here's what I'm dealing with like moving forward. So so that was like another thing too, because like she does do some crazy shit. So I do feel like at the end of the day I do. What's the
craziest thing she does? Like really, what is the craziest thing she does? So I think this is what we have.
She locks him up in the bathroom.
Yeah, then she falls asleep
overnight. Right? Yeah, overnight.
Oh, she falls out like, hey, doesn't do it on purpose.
She doesn't lock him in the room on purpose.
No, she doesn't leave him overnight on purpose.
Yeah, but she did.
Hey, he should have fucking talked.
She goes up
to her. He should have fucking talked to her about having a kid. He's trying to avoid it. He won't tell her where he's going. You had it coming, dude.
Actually, he did have it coming because, like talking through, like Stu's involvement too. I have been fixated like on Barb because it's all like through her lens. So I didn't really look at Stu too much in reflection as much as I did like with Barb.
Yeah.
But I see, I'm hooked. I'm calling her Barb. I'm calling her Barbs.
Like a good friend of mine. Yeah,
that's why I know my good friend Barbs. Yeah, I've subscribed to her gym. But go. What were you saying?
I was gonna say it's an example of like you don't have to agree with what Barb is doing, but you do understand it. Like you understand what motivates it, what motivates the behavior, and it's not like her motivations are not crazy. And then she is, like you said, she is kind of vindicated in some respects as the story goes because she has all these people around her that are lying to her.
Yeah, which is also another terrible disposition to have in there because you have it in your gut and you have your like woman's intuition of something is not right, and that will drive like anybody crazy. But like with women, like they have that's more of an innate quality. Being intuitive with women, that's
really.
I've
met plenty of women, Paul. I've met plenty of women, and they're all idiots.
Yeah. So, well, I already told you like why this is a dark comedy, but anyways,
well, it is a dark comedy. It is.
Yeah.
It is like it is because it's a comedy of errors, like a dark comedy of errors.
Yeah, but it does almost I stated earlier. So.
No, but like the guy that said that in the review, like you had pointed out, is a little bit like a British comedy in some ways. which is just like, it's about manners, it's about perspective, it's about etiquette, it's about how those things manifest in your life and how they make you feel about each other, the way we treat one another, how honest we are with each other, how we define each other by the roles that we play in each other's lives.
And a plain dry delivery.
Fucker.
And a plain dry delivery, you know.
Well, they're Irish. Come on, they're gross.
Well, yeah. Well, hey, we can say that. Or self-loathing mix. So
that's right.
But no, man, dude, I was super stoked to talk to you about this one, man. And I'm glad we picked it out. I'm glad we picked it up as the first one to get into. So because
it's cool. I'm gonna read his stuff in chronological order, I think.
So is Icon Violet the second one then?
No, it's the third one.
That's the third one. Okay, so then
Icon Violet and Seasons of, what was it? Seasons of something or other.
I should know. I just fucking bought it.
They are Icon Violet came out like a couple months after the Seasons of something.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So, well, I guess since they came out so close, I assume he wrote all of these very close together, because even at the end of the book, which was a very classy touch, there's a thank you. At least there was in the Kindle version.
Yeah.
A thank you for reading this book. Check me out here. Hey, if you like this, recommend it to other people, and also expect several more books to come out in the near future. So I'm assuming he was kind of writing all these things together, or at least had completed them around the same time.
Yep.
He got a fever. He's got a writing fever.
Yeah, I like that. He's like, meanwhile, if you know a person who'd like to meet Barbs, feel free to lend them your copy and let the madness be shared. So he also agrees. She's fucking mad. So even though he is not the Dr. Faye in the book,
I don't know.
Can confirm. I got the receipts. But no, man. But no, it was a fun book, and not for nothing, it's not like most things you're going to read. It will be a change up in your normal routine. Oh, unless if you, I don't know, are exclusively into. I think
if you're a fan of Chuck Palahniuk or something, I think that's actually the closest analogy I can think of is Chuck Palahniuk, and actually maybe Bret Easton Ellis, because we're gonna do American Psycho at some point in the near future.
Yeah,
talk about the movie and the book. I think there is kind of a similar style of storytelling. So if you like those kinds of things, I would definitely recommend it. If you have not, even if you haven't, if you made it this far and you listened to us talk about it and you still haven't, and you hadn't read it yet, I would still recommend giving it a go. There's enough stuff in there that we left out, and actually, I think the prose is pretty good. It's a very well written book.
Yeah.
And impressive for a first time author, I would say.
Yeah. And like what my own Amazon review was saying is the less you know going into it, the better. So don't read it.
Too bad. Too late now.
Yeah. Well.
No, but I think it's fun. I think it plays. There's a lot of fun literary devices and tricks in there, like all the foreshadowing stuff. There's a lot of fun things to be found in the book, and it's a very easy, light read. You could probably read this in a sitting, maybe two.
Sure.
I think I ended up reading it in 3 sittings. Just 50, 60 page chunks at a time.
Yeah. Oh, it was easy to do. It was definitely easy to read. So I enjoyed it.
Yeah, goes by really quickly. It keeps you engaged the entire time because it's always able to reveal something new or just turn something a little bit in a way that you may not have expected, because you're gonna. That's the cool thing, like I said about the book. You're just waiting for it to really go off the fucking rails.
Yeah.
And I kind of like that it never does. It kind of didn't satisfy me in that way, but it satisfied me in a different way where I felt like I did go on an arc. There's a completed arc, a completed journey. Even if like I said, I think you could have used a little building out towards the end, but that would be my only real criticism of the book.
Yeah, but I'm telling you, in post, thinking about that too, you did enjoy that because you wanted in the moment, is this going to, what's going to go down? Is she going to fuck this up and whatnot? And then afterwards, it didn't happen. So it's just all that suspense, and then What? And then so like I would say you're immediately like let down or whatnot, but it's just almost like being like trolled. It was definitely funny. It was definitely a fun book.
Yeah, I guess that's probably a good way to put it. A little bit, you feel a little trolled.
Yeah.
I mean, not in a bad way. Like
No,
kind of makes you laugh to yourself a little bit. Be like, well, I guess that was because you bring so much presumption, so many preconceived notions, especially when you read the synopsis.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to project a lot onto the book, what you assume is going to happen, what you're going to presume things are going to be like. And it does a good job of subverting those expectations, but doing it in a way that doesn't feel like cheap and doesn't feel like kind of cynically done.
Right.
Not like say Rian Johnson, director of the Last Jedi, cynical subversion. No, but no, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it a lot, and I'm definitely looking forward to reading his other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And also, and if you haven't before, go check out his YouTube page, Content Lit, criminally undersubbed YouTube channel. Somebody that is better than like 80% of that kind of stuff on YouTube.
Yeah,
the guy's very good, very slick.
Yes, he is.
Yeah.
Yes, he is.
It's good stuff.
Cheers, Simon Fay. We appreciate
Cheers to
the
you,
good
sir.
times and the good reads, man.
Yeah. And we'll talk to you guys next time on Zoobox Goes to the Library. Like I said, look forward to the near future. We're going to do American Psycho. We're going to do the book and the movie. And we'll do probably some of the rest of Simon Fay's work so far. It's going to be fun.
It'll be great.
Incoming.
I'm in heaven.
All right, everybody.
I'm like getting the feeling of coming in the gym. I'm getting the feeling of coming at home. I'm getting the feeling of coming backstage when I pump up, when I pose out in front of 5,000.